pulling and pushing and twisting the stick very gently, just to get movement into the spine, really. Now, energetically, the three major bones in the body are the sacrum, the sternum, and the cranium. So imagine your skull, it's made of plates which are sort of joined together, but there's movement between them. You want the same feeling that the sacrum and the sternum have the same property. So here we're just trying to just work the stick just to get the tiniest movement into those three bones. And the spine enables transmission of energy between those three bones. And the spine, of course, is made up of however many vertebrae. We're waking up to energy. The subtlest, slightest movement inside this craniosacral system, with the legs and the shoulders and the arms and the sternum attached. So a sense that we're listening with our skeleton. using the stick to work on the spine a bit. So just the bottom part of the spine, from the mid-spine down. So just put it over the head. Get your arms on top and just pull it up as high as it will come. So you're sort of above the mid-back, really. And then just slowly just roll the stick down. So you're pushing it into the back a little bit, but rolling it down. And just try and find the problem part in your spine. The bit where vertebrae jut out a bit too far backwards. And you just roll the stick over that place, like you're ironing those vertebrae back in. So consider a seed in the ground, waiting for the rain to cause it to wake up and start to grow. So once it starts growing, gravity tells it which way is up and which way is down. But then it has to work to drive its roots down into the soil. Gravity doesn't do it for it. So something in it has to push down and around the grains which it's surrounded by. And the same with the shoot that's coming upwards. It drives up through the soil until it's out, and then it's the sun that draws it. So it's the same with us. Gravity won't give us a route. Gravity tells us which way is up and which way is down. We then have to drive into the ground. And in a way, it's easier to feel when we're sitting down because we don't have to get through the legs. You can just feel now the sitting bones. Something in you is driving down the bottom part of your spine, through the sitting bones and extending roots into the ground. You're not content to just settle on top of the ground. You have to get into it. Otherwise, nothing will grow upwards out of the thymus. The kink in the spine is generally really just, we've just learned to be lazy in a way. when you get your roots into the ground, you get this jet coming up the spine. So like Yeats's image of the ping pong ball on top of the jet of water. So the thymus, the upper heart, is like the ping pong ball. It's not firing up into the air, but it's forever bouncing around, itching to fly into action. So my root feeds my thymus. Put the stick down a sec. The heart qigong. Feel the thymus. It should feel really quite dominant now. So you're drawing into it, and then the fountain coming out of the top of the head. And again, the two sides of the body, left and right, having a little bit of independence. So when we worked with the stick to begin with, pulling and pushing and twisting and turning, that's what that does really. It just makes the two sides of the body capable of playing with each other. And then the hands out to the sides. And now just a few twists. and then just some tipping until the hand is on the floor. So heaviness rolling down the arms and lightness rolling up the arms. And then the other side, turning the hands over. And now just linking the fingers together, but behind the back. And really straighten the arms and pull the shoulders right back. Straightening the arms, but also trying to lift them without bending the head forwards. And now just taking the stick up again. And now just that one where we hold the ends of the stick, your hands need to be quite wide apart. And just letting it drop down behind the back. Elbows straight. And as you get better at it, you can just move the hands towards each other a little bit. a little bit more of what we'd started with. So the lightest of touches, you're like, almost like you're barely gripping it and just working it. You don't really need the stick. You can just use the two hands if you want. The stick's a bit too heavy, really. Same sort of idea, but one hand on the belly. Just the fingers really just resting on your sternum. The lightest of touches. You want a touch that's sort of fluttery, flickery fingers a little bit. Just trying to get the tiniest movement into the sternum. Especially if they're sensitive enough to feel it, because that gives you real feedback. You feel them feeling you. Bringing your hands onto the head, again, the lightest of touches. The lumbar spine extending, so your sitting bones are still driving into the ground if you can. Let's start off in a slightly different posture. So with the hands front, pushing forwards, angling back a little bit like this. The same strength that we had here when we were sitting down to get the sitting bones driving down and the thymus lifting. Want the same thing here. So just imagine you're pushing something and that's driving this part of your spine down into your legs, and the upper part of your spine is driving upwards. Bring it towards a wall and just press on the wall. You're not leaning. You're using the arms to drive yourself down into the legs, and you're using the legs to drive the arms into the wall, up the wall, if anything. And then just bring 1 foot forwards. And the same thing. If anything, it's easier to feel with 1 foot forwards. I'm extending my back here. I'm really working the back. And then just swap the feet round. Try and alternate the feet so you can really drive from the back foot. That's easy. But then to really try and get into the front foot and push from there, that's more difficult. So front foot energy is difficult to get out. And then just swapping round again. Have the front foot really angled in, so you're sort of driving into that outside edge rather than the heel. Want this pressure to feel it's really driving your lower back down through your legs, but really lifting the thymus. So you don't need much pressure on the wall, just enough to keep you down, and then just swapping over once more. You're using the 2 arms and the 2 legs to get movement into the spine, like when we were working with the stick, but obviously this is much more strong and forceful. Riding horse. But with that same sense. So it's quite a bit different than what we've been doing, because what we've been doing is really trying to get this circuit in the spine. So we've been yielding, we've been creating containers, and the spine was just another container. Now I'm really letting my spine extend down and the upper part of my spine extend up. So now it's just becoming the straight line. Use the hands. So if you get into like a push posture, it's easier to feel. There's real warrior stuff. It makes you really charged up and angry, ready to leap forwards. So this is becoming more and more dominant, the thymus. It's great doing it with someone. You basically just do the same thing with your hands on each other. And you're trying to drive the other one down. They're trying to drive you the same. And now just going into what we normally do. So the roundness here, but also a sense of a much bigger roundness in the spine. And now let's just breathe it. So what we want to do is switch from the extreme of bowing in the spine, the extreme of yielding, if you like, of taking something in, to what we've just started with, this extreme of extending, but not just extending here, but extending down into the legs, into the root. I'm really extending my root down. And now here, I just want to do this without bringing the root up too much. So I have to stay down in my legs. And then here, even though my legs are wanting to straighten, I'm using the strength in my lower back to drive down through them. Now let's just try lifting the leg, just to give the legs a bit of a rest. Really circling around the foot. So in order to balance on one foot, it's best to make the foot you're going to balance on as big as possible. So to really extend the foot, going around the foot, and that enables me then to lift the other. So just take it little by little, put the big toe down, and then you just loop around the foot. So each time you bring the knee up slightly higher. Feel the knee rising, pulling the lower back. So as I'm going into the leg like this is where I'm doing the driving down and really strengthening the lower back to get into my root. It doesn't matter if your spine is not vertical here. If you're angling back with your lower back, it's fine, because it's what's important is just getting down into this leg. And I want to get down into the leg because I've strengthened across the lower back. So I've squeezed into the ground. And then bringing this knee up will round out the back. Using the arms just to get the knee up slightly higher. It's really interesting, this, because You have to have both postures. So you have to be really driving down into the ground like this, down here, which lifts this. But then you've also got to curve the other way for the leg that's coming up. And now let's try bringing the foot up behind. This is really important. Pulling your heel into your buttock, and you're driving the knee down and back. So really stretching the thigh muscles here. Still rooting through the supporting leg. So I have to use the muscles in my lower back to really drive myself down this leg. And then I need to relax those muscles sufficiently for me to work on the other leg. Bring the foot up to where it would be if you were sitting down in lotus. Pushing my knee down a bit. Driving down. When I establish a route, I don't just have a more stable connection with the ground, I have an energetic one, so I get really charged up, become quite fierce. And then an exercise that we'd like to be able to do, but we probably can't. From there, just hold the big toe and just extend the leg. And then bring the leg in. So going down. So if I'd go down the normal way we're used to, it would just be like this. But if I go down and really extend from my lower back, I just get down just a little bit further. I just have a real intensity. And now let's just squat down. Again, just getting the back strong. It feels like you're really trying to extend out of your sacrum, like you're really pushing down through the spine. And that really causes the thymus just to drive upwards fiercely. Trying your best to get it as straight as possible. And then just move across into that leg, straightening the other one. And just a sense that you're really trying to stay flat, really on the ground. Instead of going back into that extended leg, just bring that leg up and then extend the other leg out in this direction. So we're going to do a square. So this is now one of the sides that goes forwards and back. And then bringing the weight into that extended leg. Extend the other one. And then bring that foot up, so the right foot up to the left. And then extend the left in this direction. Keep the back hand inside the leg so you can use the elbow to keep the knee out. And then up with the foot, and then extending the other leg backwards now towards the back wall. And bring that foot up. And then just round to the front. Real strength in the lower back, which will just give a lift to the thymus. Feel the ground. I want to feel the flow of the ground. My lower back is tightening. That's driving my feet down and back a little bit. And the recoil from that is bouncing up into the thymus. So my posture is not simply a structural thing, it's a flow. It's a flow of fierce energy. Bring the fingers underneath the toes and then just straighten the legs. And then back down into a squat and then back up. Then down again. Strength in the lower back, really. So when I put the foot down, I'm using the strength here to sort of screw into the ground. And then I can put this one down and I'm really driving down the leg. Nothing to do with gravity, it's much stronger than gravity. We're just going to make a circle. And then bring the hands up the middle. When they get to the height of the heart, they roll over. And then I push up as high as I can without straightening the legs. Feel this roll here as the hands turn over. It's a real roll like this inside the heart. It's lovely. And gradually we just go down on the way down. So just bending the legs. you should be able to look forwards. Keeping the strength in the lower back, turning, but turning by driving down this leg and then driving down this leg. I'm using the muscle on this side of my spine to straighten that side of my body. The turn is like a byproduct of me trying to extend down the leg from my lower back. And now just forget all that. Now just very light, just the full and empty. But of course you won't be able to forget it. It'll still be there. So my hamstring is working to pull me forwards at the same time that my lower back and my quad are working to drive me into the ground. back to riding horse. With this strength here in the lower back, just really pushing myself down. And then just up and press out. Same idea. And now just working the feet. And then just loosening it. Hit your mind with the legs. Strengthen the lower back. Mind located in the Dan Chen from where it is scanning down through the legs. As soon as you find yourself thinking to yourself, then you've lost your route. So let's just really lean forwards now. And just get strength here. So your tail is trying to extend backwards, your head is trying to rear up. And just feel how the strength here really drives you down into the legs. And now let's just finish. So just bring it up. Feel the strength in the lower back. I want that tightness to drive me down through the leg. Normally that tightness would lift me up from the thymus. That's there, but I'd really want to keep down so that I'm using this to extend a root into the ground. And then this will naturally be fed from that connection. I won't need to express myself or push myself forwards.